Thanks so much for joining us today on Connect and Collaborate, where we come together each day to introduce you to our network of business and community leaders and to discuss important issues that impact business in Colorado and the region. I'm Tammy Schaefer, your on-air producer, and today we are focusing on unique partnerships. We're connecting with Jon Ekstrom of Deft Communications. Jon, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks again, Tammy. It's always a pleasure to connect and collaborate with you. Of course. And make sure you get that brand in properly.
Thank you.
So today we are joined by a unique partnership I'm proud to highlight, one that I've been a part of for the last several months. Jason Eckhoff is here from Peak Properties Denver West. Jason, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And Dave Sevick from Firefly Autism. Dave, it's a pleasure.
Jon, thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Absolutely. So before we get into the nature of this partnership, why don't you all tell me a little bit. Jason, we'll start with you. Give me the rundown of Peak Properties Group and Peak Properties Denver West, which I think you just opened a new office.
I did. We just opened a new office in Lakewood, right off of Union, just north of Alameda. Office opened officially October 1st.
Terrific. And so Peak Properties Group, how long has it been around? How long have you been there?
Peak Properties Group has been around for about 7 years now. I've been with the company for a little bit over 3.
Okay. And what were you doing before that?
Actually, I moved here from Chicago. While I was in Chicago, I was a personal shopper for Bloomingdale's.
Really?
Yeah.
And how was that?
It was interesting.
I want to do that.
Yeah, everybody thinks they want to do that until they do
You don't
it.
really?
Yeah.
And what facilitated the move into real estate?
Actually, when I moved here, I had a friend of mine that was into real estate, thought that I would be very good at it, so I gave it a whirl and loved it.
Yeah, and taking the test. I heard Colorado has one of the more challenging tests. How is it?
It is. It's one of the more challenging tests, but it's once you get through it, it's pretty easy from there.
And you've been off and running ever since, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're branch manager of this brand new Peak Properties office out in Lakewood.
Correct.
How many agents do you have working under you?
Right now, I have 7.
Okay.
Seven out of the Denver West office. We have probably about 25 altogether with Peak Properties Group now.
Wow. Okay. Company's been growing remarkably, and it's a pleasure to get to work with a company on the ascent because, I mean, I've watched Peak Properties. I've known the founder, Alex, and Derek for a long time, and seeing them grow and thrive has been tremendous. So it's got to be great being a part of that.
It is. It's great being a part of that every day.
Terrific. All right, Dave. Firefly Autism. Give us the rundown. What is Firefly? What do you do? What differentiates you?
Firefly Autism is Colorado's leading treatment center for children and families living with autism who are on ASD. We call it the autism spectrum disorder. There are such a large number of children across the United States, globally actually, who every year the number who are diagnosed goes up higher and higher. And in 2003, Colorado really was without a facility that was dealing with these kids that were in need of treatment. And so Firefly Autism was formed. Since then, we have grown to become the leader in Colorado and one of the most respected across the nation. Very proud of the work that we do. We use applied behavior analysis, ABA therapy, which is becoming more and more of the mainstream. Used to be kind of on the fringe. And it's data-driven, it's evidence-based, and it has proven to be the way that we're helping to change lives.
Fantastic. 2003 was the founding of Firefly Autism, and how long have you been there?
I've been there just over a year and a half. I've done nonprofit work for, I don't want to say how long because it'll date me, but for a long time. But my career way back when, as we were talking about before we went on the air, it started actually in broadcasting and radio. And from there, it sort of meandered, and I moved my way out to Colorado and then found my way into doing marketing and development for nonprofits.
What was the transition like for you going from media to that side of it?
You know, it's interesting. A lot of people would think it was such an abrupt transition. It really wasn't, because what we focused on was incorporating whatever nonprofits we were working with at the time into media, both television and radio, to help get the word out and to help people understand what the mission was of a particular nonprofit, what their needs were, and what was expected of the community as far as helping to give back to help the nonprofit community grow and to help these nonprofits to grow and to get their missions fulfilled.
So you've been at Firefly for about a year and a half. Do you care to talk about any of the other nonprofits you've worked with?
No, in fact, I'm glad you brought that up, John, because I worked for 11 years at Tennyson Center for Children, which their primary focus is abused and neglected kids, and it's a wonderful organization, and 11 years is a long time.
I used to work for a company that sponsored Tennyson Center for Children, so I am familiar with their work.
I probably brought on that company as a sponsorship, odds are.
I don't think that's the case. We can share the origin story off mic because it's far less glamorous than that.
But I won't take credit for it.
But I know the level of dedication from the staff. I know the type of work that they do. That's a terrific organization to have on your resume.
It is, but I'll tell you that working at Firefly, and I'm not just saying this because they're my employer, the passion, as you guys know, that I have for Firefly is so deep. Jason teases me a lot because I can rarely ever tell a story about some of our successes without shedding a tear, and that is genuine.
Right.
And it's because I see every day the work that we do, the lives that we change, and the kids who we are affecting, and we are making them have a chance at a brighter future and a fulfilling, contributing, and satisfying life as an adult.
Wow. Well, it's great work that you're doing, and it's tremendous to get to intersect with Firefly. One thing I'm curious about before we get into the partnership between Peak and Firefly, because you hear Firefly Autism, you hear Peak Properties Group, you've got autism advocacy, and you've got real estate. Those don't necessarily connect in your mind in a natural way, right?
This is true.
But Jason, how did you come to know about Firefly? How did you intersect with Dave? How did that unfold?
So actually, I met Dave through my husband. Last year, we actually this
It was a year ago right now, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. So at the holiday time, we my husband and myself donated to Firefly for the holiday giving program.
Yep, for a toy drive.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's essentially where the relationship started, and then met each other.
And when
again
they say
at Gala.
donated, that's an understatement. They went above and beyond and brought in literally SUV loads
Wow.
of items that were on our wish list, and we were blown away. We really were.
Wow, that's really cool. Did you guys connect sort of immediately? Did you hit it off?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. And then from that point,
Well, I mean, if you're showing up with SUVs full of stuff.
from that point, they then attended our gala. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. I can explain what they did for us at the gala that really solidified the relationship. It was
Terrific.
pretty
We'll look
amazing.
forward to that. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Jason.
We'll be back with more talking about this unique partnership between Peak Properties and Firefly Autism, along with Jon Ekstrom. Stay with us here on Connect and Collaborate. We'll be right back.
Clear.
Thanks so much for staying with us today here on Connect and Collaborate. We are focusing on unique partnerships this week with Jon Ekstrom of Deft Communications.
Thanks, Tammy. Quick plug for Deft Communications. You can
Please.
find us on the web at www.deftcom.us, deftcom.us. Training, content, and engagement, all manner of public outreach initiatives. And we're here with Dave Sevick and Jason Eckhoff. And so before we get into a story, because Dave, right before we went to break, you were telling a story about how you and Jason got connected. Give us the plug for Firefly Autism. Where can we find them on the web?
Firefly Autism at www.fireflyautism.org. All the information about the work that we do, how you can help, how you can donate, volunteer, upcoming events, the whole 9 yards.
Terrific. And we'll make sure to hit that at the end of the show,
Thank
as
you.
we will with Peak Properties Group. Where can we find Peak on the web?
It's www.milehighhomeguide.com. So it's milehigh, HIGH, homeguide.com.
Fantastic. So, Dave, take us back to when you met Jason and they showed up with these SUVs full of gifts
Yeah.
and toys for the kids of Firefly Autism. You mentioned that they really went above and beyond. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, they really did. We love it when our donors will call during the holiday season, especially. We know that everybody wants the warm fuzzy of helping out kids, and we greatly appreciate that. These guys called and said that I believe your nephew, Jason, had autism, and he said they wanted to make a little bit more of a connection. So they looked at our wish list on our website. They went shopping, and I thought, like many of our donors, they would come with a bag full of 5 or 6 items.
Right.
No, lo and behold, Scott pulls up in an SUV that literally was filled back seat and the entire back of the SUV with
Wow.
boxes and bags. That was load number 1.
Just like the movie scene, just spilling out of the...
It literally was, and we were kind of blown away. And so then a couple days later, they came back with another load equally as large, and our Christmas tree at the lobby in Firefly was by that time overflowing with gifts just billowing out, and we were absolutely just enamored with these guys at what they had done. And then fast forward to in April. Every year in April we have our annual gala. It's called Laugh Yourself Blue. We'll talk about that here in a little bit as well. I want to give that a plug. But it's a very unique fundraiser. It's our largest fundraiser of the year, but it's a unique gala in comparison to other galas around Denver, in that we throw in a comedic theme, which just lightens up the evening, and we have some nationally known headline comedians. And so these guys bought a table.
Who have you had?
We've had Josh Blue, who
terrific.
actually is who the event was named after. We've had Johnny Sanchez. This year we have Karen Mills, who plays the Southern Belle like you've never heard before, and she's just hilarious. And this year we are adding, very proud of this, a young up-and-coming comedian called Michael McCreary, who is on the spectrum. He has Asperger's, and his slogan is, "Does this shirt make my Asperger's look big?" And he's hilarious, so we're happy to have him coming on board this year too. But these guys bought a table. We also have a silent auction associated with the event that happens before the event with cocktails and revelry, and I don't think there's an item they didn't bid on, and I'm pretty sure there's an item that they didn't win, because when we got the reports after the event on how much money guests had spent and how much we had raised, they were at the top of the list. And that was really when I just I knew that they were serious about supporting the organization. And then Jason contacted me this summer.
Wait a minute, before we do that, Jason, what were some of the things that you ended up with?
I was going to say, let's step back for a second. First of all, my husband was a big driving force behind a lot of that, and I have to give him a lot of credit for that. But it's so funny because like he would like jump out and he's like, "Oh my God, we won!" And I'm like, "Yeah, we really didn't win anything, honey. It was
we
bought that.
right, exactly." So it was
we
definitely very
won a
entertaining.
smaller bank account. Granted, it's for a good cause.
And
But
Firefly's the one who wound up winning, and in the long run, it really is what happened, and we're grateful for that.
yeah, and so, is there anything in particular that stands out from that night that you ended up with?
Let's see, what did we end up with?
Because I know you're big travelers, and a lot of times silent auctions.
You had a
there's
BMW
getaways.
weekend that you.
No, it was we got the Mini Cooper for the weekend.
That's right.
We're actually on not Christmas Eve, on New Year's Eve, we're going to the Colorado Avalanche game in a suite.
Oh, cool. All right.
So we have food and a suite for 18 people, so we're going there for New Year's Eve, so that's going to be kind of fun.
I think they bought the first moon shuttle that's coming up or something.
Exactly. We got 2 Nintendo Switches.
Wow.
It was
It
pretty
wasn't
amazing.
intentional to get the 2, but we figured we would get outbid.
You got to ride on SpaceX.
But it's important because
it was-
that's how we raise money, and when people, we love it when people understand the mission of Firefly as they do, and they want to help, but in fun and unique ways. It doesn't always have to be just give us a donation, and that's kind of how then this program was born.
And that's
we had so much fun that night.
That's one of the things I love about Peak Properties Group too. It's you go, there are a lot of any number of real estate firms in Denver. How many, Jason? I think you told me approximately 1 zillion.
Somewhere around there.
But with a group like Peak, you get realtors that care and are involved in the community.
It's there. You want to know it's a great group to be around. Everybody's really passionate about what they do, and it's really a great organization.
And I have to second that. The entire gang at Peak Properties Group, from Alex and Derek on down to all the brokers, have been, I'm going to start crying probably here in a minute, but
Don't.
have been
It's the nice time to
nothing
cry.
but the absolute best, and one of the best relationships we've ever developed on a corporate level, and we look forward to a long and prosperous relationship with these guys.
So we do the Laugh Yourself Blue, and at that point, did you decide we need to get involved at a more institutional level? How can we take this to the next level? How did that develop?
Well, I think it's the next level it's like I just wanted to do one small event and see what we could do and see what we could raise money for, and then all of a sudden it just turned into something that went from one little thing to putting our brains together, and it just kind of just kept rolling.
He
and
called
rolling
me,
and rolling.
I think it was in July, and said, my birthday's coming up, and I want to do a fundraiser for my birthday. In lieu of, my friends bringing gifts or whatever, let's do a fundraiser for Firefly. And I said, okay, we'll put our heads together. And we had a couple ideas. And almost overnight, this just snowballed into, he came up with the idea of, wait a minute, why don't we do something for the holidays? And I have to give Jason a good chunk of the credit on that. You know, we did put our heads together as far as the details, but Home for the Holidays came from him and from Peak Properties Group, and we were just blown away by the prospect of what it could be, what it has turned into, and we think what it will become for years to come.
Well, and what was exciting was you called me shortly after that, and you said, we're putting together this campaign. You know, how do we reach media? We're also opening a new office, and that was right around the time that Peak was opening its Denver West office out in Lakewood. So how do we marry these two things together, and how do we build something that is unlike what you see from any other real estate in Denver? And so the fact that you brought in me and Deft Communications for that was a thrill. I mean, you pray for calls like that, right? It not, hey, we spilled a bunch of toxic waste. How do you help us manage this? But we're trying to do good things for a terrific Denver-based nonprofit. So
and that really does illustrate the entire philosophy behind the PPG group. Everybody down there, that this is what it was about. It wasn't about them trying to come up with an angle or some unique marketing angle that's going to make them profitable. It was about them looking for an opportunity that was different, that was unique, and that would allow them to give back to the community in a way that maybe hadn't quite been done before.
Right.
And that's exactly what we came up with.
Well, and it's also leveraging relationships with other companies as well.
It was, and we through that relationship, of course, we brought on John and Deft Communications, which was I knew from moment one, the first time we met, that this was having him on board was going to be a huge asset. But the other organization, in addition to Peak Properties Group, that we have to give huge kudos to is Roadside Hospitality Group.
Roadhouse Hospitality.
Roadhouse Hospitality Group.
Oh, Dave.
And this is live. Yes, it is. Three mea culpas. Roadhouse Hospitality Group. They own T Street Roadhouse out in Lakewood and Belmar, along with Reavers and six or seven other venues around town. And they, Dylan Boulders over there and the entire organization, they have just basically been, what do you want? We'll do it.
Yeah.
And they've come through with shining colors, and we could not have produced this campaign and the events associated with it without their support and with their generosity.
Yeah, absolutely. So this partnership, we're talking about Home for the Holidays, and it's more than just events. We do get people together and we connect and we collaborate. Pardon the pun, Tammy.
That's fine. It's not a pun. Go ahead and collaborate. That's what we're here for.
But it's also about, how do we leverage Denver's very hot real estate market into making an impact on Firefly Autism? So, Jason, can you tell me a little bit about how that manifests?
So the relationship?
How the actual Home for the Holidays, how the donation process works.
So what we're doing is for every home that's bought or sold through the program, we are donating $500 to Firefly for Autism. So anybody that we generate through this program, we're meeting in the streets, through the businesses that we run into.
Through these events.
Correct.
And through the events, exactly.
Yeah. So we're donating $500 for each transaction back to Firefly.
And that was pretty mind-blowing when we heard that
Right.
figure. And
Well, given Denver's real estate market, certainly.
Yeah, exactly. And we looked at the history. We looked at what the real estate market has done. We know that the market shifts from time to time, but we looked at what had been done in past years, and we got pretty optimistic and pretty excited. And that's also, as you mentioned, John, the reason why we had these events was to facilitate the connections and get people involved and to spread the word that people were aware of what was going on and how they could help.
Certainly. Well, I mean, as we're talking about unique partnerships, this is an example of putting together Denver's very hot real estate market with doing community good. And putting those two things together, I think, is in fact unique. And the fact that I get to be a part of it, the fact that you all have formulated this, and has it been successful?
Of course, yeah. We've nothing but positive feedback. It's been fantastic.
We even have one of my employees at Firefly is now in the process of house hunting with Peak Properties Group. She and her husband were looking for a house, and she thought, well, let's take it to the next level and do it this way.
Has it met your expectations?
Yes, it's exceeded. It's just the people that we've met is amazing. It's at the end of the day, it's about Firefly Autism, and it's about meeting people and having those genuine relationships. It's everything else will fall into place, but it's been fantastic to this point.
I think people have been surprised a little bit that at the generous level of what that program brings, and that's put a smile on my face as well.
Fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll get into more of it. Let's talk a little bit more about real estate coming up in the third segment. But Jason Eckhoff, Dave Sevick, thanks for your insight.
More on unique partnerships when we come back here on Connect and Collaborate. Stay with us through the break. Thanks again for staying with us today here on Connect and Collaborate. We are focusing on unique partnerships this week with Jon Ekstrom from Deft Communications.
Thanks again, Tammy. And Jason, we were talking in the previous segment about this partnership between Peak Properties Group and Firefly Autism, where $500 for every transaction through the program gets donated to Firefly Autism. And we were alluding to Denver's sort of hot real estate market. We are now in December as we record this. Where's the market currently?
So typically this is supposed to be the lull of the year.
Right, like the dead time.
But at the same time, though, too, is it's still going crazy out there right now. Inventory is at an all-time low, but
Still.
Yep.
How long has inventory been at this low?
Well, this is I want to say even lower than last year.
Good Lord.
Wow. Yeah, and you want to know, typically people aren't drudging through the holidays, but right now we're encouraging people to get out there and to try to find something at this time of the year, because we're expecting in February for it to kick right back up to where it started. So, and it's still crazy.
Wow. I read something recently that Denver's growth is slowing a little bit as you've got Coloradans starting to leave the state. Have you seen that manifest at all in the real estate market?
We're seeing a little bit of both. We're seeing, I think, more people come in than leave, but people are taking advantage of the market right now to where everything's at a really good growth. So they're taking advantage and going to places like Florida or Arizona, to where they can take the money that they made here and live a comfortable life somewhere else.
Right. Try again, right? Okay, if someone is, and obviously the obvious answer from you is going to be contact me at Peak Properties Group.
Of course.
But if someone is looking to get into the real estate market or make a change, what are some of the things that they can do to best equip themselves for that?
So as like an individual or something?
Or however you want to answer that is okay with me.
So the best way to do it is call me.
Right.
Right. Either way, it's if you're interested in.
Is there a timing component? I mean, it doesn't sound like it, but
there really isn't. It's right now. It's a great time to be in real estate. So by calling me, or we could work through whatever that question is. So
okay, one thing I'm interested in such a competitive market, how do you differentiate yourself? You hear stories about so many offers on each house. How do you set yourself apart? How do you cut through all that noise?
So it's it's the compassion and care. It's really have to care about what you're doing at the end of the day. It's if you're not vested into that process, then it's just probably not going to work for you at that time. So as a real estate agent or as a consumer in this market, you have to be vested in the process. So if you just got to be all in. It's fighting through the crowds, fighting through the people, but it's honestly it's the care at the end of the day that gets the deals done. It's that persistency, it's that passion.
Patience is a virtue. Yes,
it is.
Dave, as we're in December and Firefly Autism is wrapping up the year, what do you all have going at the moment? Where is Firefly at the end of 2017?
Well, this has been a remarkable year for us in several different ways. First of all, as far as growth, the numbers of children being diagnosed with autism has skyrocketed. We get a lot of questions as to why that is, and people need to understand that of all of the developmental disabilities, number one, autism is the most underfunded. We must change that. Number two, it is the most misunderstood, and it is one of the newest. Until 25 years ago, the word was barely in our vocabulary. And so over the last 25 years, in some ways we've been barely scratching the surface, and in some ways we've made incredible inroads, learning more and more about the disorder and how to treat it and how to get these kids back on track with the chance of having a satisfying, fulfilling life. The key element for us is early intervention. The earlier the kids are diagnosed, which it can be as early as 12 to 18 months, the earlier that we can get them the help they need. And one of the things that fascinates me right now is the treatment that we're using now actually has the potential to create new neural pathways in the brain, so it can actually bypass the affected area. Oh, wow. So in theory, you can get a kid who, through the right path of therapy and treatment, in 3 to 4 years, they will be equal to their neurotypical peers. And they'll be right on track where they need to be. That's what we need to do, and that's what we want to do. The downside is that that we have so many requests for service, we're at capacity.
Wow.
And we have wait lists. We have one of our programs is our home-based services program, where our therapists literally go into the home and work with the families in their natural environments, in the home and in the schools. And that's great because that's a nice alternative to families that are currently on the waiting list. We are in the process of trying to get a new facility that hopefully we'll know in a couple of weeks whether that came through or not. That is about 3 times the size of our current facility, and we will be able to no longer have to put people on wait lists.
Okay, 2 questions. Yep. Where is your current facility?
Current facility is at Yale and Holly, basically.
And you've been there since 2003?
2003, yeah.
Bursting at the seams.
Yeah, we are now, and we're happy. One of the things we always tell people is that we never want to say no to any child or any family, any prospective client, and we won't. We will find a way to treat that family and that child, but we want to do it the right way, and we need room to grow, and in order to do that, we have to have support from the community. That's why this program, Home for the Holidays, that's why all of our other fundraising programs, Laugh Yourself Blue that we mentioned, our gala in April, they are essential to our survival, and they're essential to our growth and to allowing us to be the best that we can, the best that we are.
Well, one of the things that's fascinating to me when it comes to nonprofit work is how nonprofits stay in business. And I know it's through a combination of fundraising, it's through grants. Do you all receive any government funding?
We do very little. One of the prime areas that we work in is partnering with school districts. School districts around the metro area that don't have the capacity right now, either through staffing or through programming, to help kids that live in the district that are on the higher end of the spectrum, that are high functioning kids with autism. And so we'll partner with them, and they will contract with Firefly. They will pay us a fee, and they will bus their kids to Firefly during the day. So they're receiving the same kind of care they would be receiving in the public school, but they're doing it at Firefly. That's one of our primary programs. We're working to expand that, and we are making great progress in that as well. And then we have a few families that are actually paying out of pocket, that they have the wherewithal and they have the means to be able to do that. It's hard for people to wrap their heads around the fact that just 1 year of treatment for a child, for example, in our early intervention program, a full day of treatment is $73,000.
Oh my!
So a lot of our families are the insurance companies, healthcare providers are starting to cover ABA therapy, covering part of it. Maybe the deductible is cost prohibitive, and so we offer a scholarship program to a lot of these families as well to help them out. Because again, we're not going to say no to any family if it's at all within our means to do so.
Wow. How many families would you say you all are servicing?
On any given day in all of our programs collectively, we're serving about 225 kids, and that's in early childhood. We have a school-age program, both in primary and secondary, young adult program, and then in our home-based services program that I mentioned as well.
So a program like this that comes along from Jason and Scott, first of all, showing up with just truckloads of toys, and then developing this creative partnership with taking advantage of Denver's hot real estate market, that had to be a godsend.
It is, and that's why you can understand why we get so excited about this, because it means the world to us, and more than that, it means the world to the kids that we serve.
Yeah, 100%. Jason, has your staff really embraced this? Have they gotten into it?
They have, so much. You don't really realize how many people it touches.
Sure.
That, one of our new hires, Julie Ritchie, that just joined us at Peak Properties Group, she's like, oh, one of my great friends has a child that goes to Firefly, and it's like you just don't realize how close it is to so many different people.
Did she know that before she signed on with you all?
Actually, she didn't. I wish she did, because that would be probably a better story. But at the same time, it was a great coincidence. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but at the same time, though, it did solidify her for choice, and she's like, got him in the right place. So that's a good thing.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, Jason, you mentioned that, someone who is on the spectrum. Your agent, Julie. Dave, you gave me a stat one time. It's like 1 in 5 people. What is that stat?
Well, it's 1 in 42 children now are on the spectrum, are diagnosed on the spectrum, and boys are 5 times more likely than girls to be diagnosed.
But it's something like you'll meet someone.
Oh, yeah. 1 in 4 people know somebody directly who is
Gotcha.
on the spectrum.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, we'll talk more about what's ahead and the success of this partnership going forward here in our last break. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks so much. We're going to continue this unique partnership conversation between Peak Properties and Firefly Autism. Stay with us after the break, and we'll also have more with Jon Ekstrom. We're so glad you're staying with us today here on Connect and Collaborate. We are talking about unique partnerships with Jon Ekstrom from Deft Communications.
Thank you, Tammy. I think this has been a tremendous conversation. And
Great.
Jason, from the Peak Properties perspective, obviously, your goal as a company is to be successful in real estate, and you want to help people find the home that they want to live in. But given what has happened in your history with Firefly, and that you have someone directly sort of in your immediate circle affected by this, what is your overall goal for this partnership?
It's to attract awareness so that more people are knowledgeable and know what autism is and how to give back. It's getting that exposure for them. It's getting that exposure for good, passionate people that are in this community. At the end of the day, it's those relationships that drive and make a better community. So just bringing those people together, drawing that attention is essentially the end goal.
Yeah, I think that's a noble goal. I certainly, when you think of business and philanthropic partnerships, there's a mutual benefit there. You gain exposure for Firefly Autism. Firefly Autism exposes a number of people who care about your issue right up front to a great company that cares about the community and gives back. So it's mutual that way.
Well, and it's drawing people that are passionate.
Certainly.
And that's what it comes back to, is you want to know what Peak Properties Group is passionate about what they do. Firefly Autism is passionate about what they do. So we try to attract other businesses in the community that are passionate as well.
And it's important for us at Firefly to let people in the community know who our corporate sponsors are.
Yeah.
I know that's not their primary goal, but for us it is imperative that we let people know that this business or that business is supporting Firefly and supporting the cause.
Yeah, in that way, it's a two-way street.
Yep.
So, Dave, I think one of the things that is really compelling about Firefly, and it's almost impossible not to want to open your wallet immediately, is when you hear some of these stories about the kids that you've touched. Would you be willing to share a story from Firefly?
Sure. There are hundreds, thousands, but one recently that I think gets me, and I will tell you, if you guys know me well enough, my voice starts choking. Yeah, I can't help it because of my passion behind this.
I'd expect nothing less from you, Dave.
A lot of the kids that come to us are nonverbal when they come to Firefly. 7, 8, 9 years old. They have not yet learned to speak. They don't have the capacity to speak. Our team is just incredibly dedicated. Our clinical staff, they will continue to work with the kids in the hopes of possibly developing speech patterns that may one day develop into full speech communication. But that's no guarantee. We had a young man named Danny. When he came to us, the experts said he would likely never speak. Our team continued to work with him nonstop. After about a year and a half, Danny lives with his grandmother, who is his primary caregiver, and the family calls her Nana. This is an important point. One Tuesday evening, Tuesday is their movie night, and every Tuesday evening they watch a movie, and Danny gets to pick it, and they sit down like many American families. And when they were doing this one Tuesday evening in September, they took a break, restroom break, refill the popcorn, whatever. And here it goes. And when they came back, as if Danny had done this 1,000 times, with no prompting whatsoever, before they started the movie again, he just looked over at his grandmother and he just said, "Danny loves Nana." And the importance of this, John, is because it didn't just point out that Danny was able to speak, but that he understood the nuances and the complexities of speech communication. And this had been in his head all this time while our staff had been working with him, and finally it was time for it to come out. And
wow.
that story lets people know what it is that we do and that it works. And that you've got young men like Danny who can now talk to the world.
That's a remarkable story, Dave.
We have those every day, and I'm very proud, as you can tell, of the work that we do. and when we get those, the funniest part was the next morning when Danny's grandmother came in to drop him off, and she just ran in and she was like, "I got to tell you guys what happened last night," and there wasn't a dry eye in the front office, in spite of the fact that we see this every day.
Yeah.
And you would think that we would become a little more hardened, but we don't.
Well, no, you're experiencing the joy for that family, that child.
This and you know what? Tammy. It's the reason why we do what we do. Not that we need a reminder for that, but we get those every single day, and I am grateful for that.
I think it bears mention that since this is radio, you've broken Tammy over here.
I didn't want to say anything, but
Granted, I'm an easy mark, but still,
it made me feel better when I saw the tears starting to come from her eyes, because I didn't feel quite so
I have a
alone.
feeling my face was red too. So,
but we do. We invite people to come on down and take a tour of our facility and find out more about what's going on there and why we have the Dannys and the Nanas and these amazing stories that are happening every single day.
Yeah. Well, it's got to make it easy to come to work every day.
It does. I'm very honored by what I do. We real quick, we had another younger boy who was leaving us recently to go into public school. That's our goal.
Yeah.
Our goal is to have them leave us and go on to bigger and better things. And yet it still hurts. And the young man, the morning that he was leaving, he's going around saying goodbye to all his favorite staff. And he came to my office, and I had to explain to him what the word bittersweet meant, because he saw my chin quivering and saw the tears streaming down my face. And he's 6 years old, and he didn't understand that. So after explaining bittersweet, he kind of understood it, and then he saw me start crying again, and he looks over at me, and he puts his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, "It's okay, buddy. I got this." And it makes you wonder who's the student and who's the teacher. And,
wow.
And it really was illustrative of the fact that we're taking these broken individuals, if you will, we're putting them back whole, and we're sending them out in the community to have the kind of life that they deserve and that we all deserve.
God, Dave, what a story. Jason, it's got to make it a little easier for you to go to work every day, knowing that some of what you're doing is going towards this as well.
Of course. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, 100%. So in terms of how people can get involved, where people can find you, we've had a number of events. You mentioned we had one at T Street Roadhouse to kick off the Peak Properties Group opening of its Denver West office. We also had an event down at Reavers on Colorado Gives Day. Was Colorado Gives Day successful for you?
It really was. It was a huge success. We can't thank everybody who donated to Firefly enough, and I want to point out that you can still donate up till December 31st, which is not a bad idea, because for your taxes for next year, this is the time you can take advantage of the Colorado Child Care Tax Credit.
You don't miss a mark, Dave. That's why I like you.
Not at all.
Got to do it all. Got to get it all in there. It's my job.
So, what else do we have coming up?
So we do have a final event at T Street Roadhouse in Lakewood and Belmar on January 25th. I believe the event will be 5 p.m. So details to come on that, and you could find those details at home4theholiday.com. And it's one more time, it's home4theholiday.com. And we hope to see everybody there.
That's just going to be our opportunity to thank everybody for their involvement, to tie it up with a bow, so to speak, and really celebrate the success of the program and the partnership with Peak Properties Group, with Deft Communications, with Roadhouse Hospitality Groups, and I got it right that time, and with all of our sponsors and everybody that has helped to make this a success.
Certainly, and one thing that's really remarkable here is, Jason, as you've reached out to other companies who are interested in this, they've come on sort of gleefully. I don't know how else to say that, but enthusiastically.
Most definitely. So we have big sponsors. U.S. Bank is one of our sponsors. Also,
they were our first.
They were our first. And then Canyon Title is one of our sponsors.
It was interesting that U.S. Bank and Canyon Title, both of those are examples of how it took us within 10 minutes of explaining what the program was about and what we were doing and what the end goal was, how eager they were to jump on board.
Yeah, and I'd like to give a shout also to the Irish Dance Theater.
Right.
Thank you, John.
That's another one of our sponsors, and I think they were a portion of their ticket sales.
Martin at Irish Dance Theater has been instrumental to a huge degree. A portion of their ticket sales, of every ticket sold, is being donated to Firefly Autism. They had an event where they did a preview of it last Saturday night. to help promote that. And their performances are December 18th and December 20th. December 18th is at DU, if I'm not mistaken. December 20th is at the Lincoln Center in Fort Collins.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep.
And if you've never caught one of those shows, they're delightful.
Yeah.
I mean, what else can you say? The website is homefortheholiday.com. You said home, the number 4, theholiday.com. Where can we find you guys again? Let's do some plugs. So, Jason, let's start. Where can we get in touch with you? Find more about Peak Properties Group.
So Peak Properties Group is www.milehighhomeguide.com, and that's high H-I-G-H, homeguide.com. And then we are located all throughout the Denver metro area.
Terrific.
And Firefly Autism as at www.fireflyautism.org. Donate button in the upper right-hand corner. And find information about our events, volunteering, all sorts of opportunities, corporate sponsorships, can't push them enough, and about Home for the Holidays as well.
Well, gentlemen, this has been a real pleasure. You can find out more about me at deftcommunications.com, deftcom.us. And thank you for sharing the story in Home for the Holidays.
Tabby, John, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you all, Jason Eckhoff and Dave Sevick, both with Peak Properties and with Firefly Autism, and we'll have the links also on our website at cobrt.com if you want to check that out. Thank you all for being here today. We appreciate it.